Okay, so we are live. Yes, we are live.
All right, great. So let's wait one more minute so that we'll begin at 7 o'clock. All right, shall we begin with day 3 of Tech Week now?
Yes, please.
Gajinder, you are, I think, unmute. You're
Yeah,
not
yeah,
audible.
that would be great. Let's begin day
Okay.
3 of Tech
Let's
Week.
begin with the smiling faces right now.
Yeah.
So, if people who have already joined us for day 1 and day 2, you already know what we are up to here. And for those who have joined today, so I'll just quickly give you the brief introduction about this event and why you should guys be participating in it. So welcome all for the day 3 of the Tech Week, which is hosted by CloudxLab. And we are so happy that you join us for the exciting week full of innovation, learning, and networking. And how we are going ahead with this event is, first of all, it promises a spectacular blend of cutting edge technology, insightful keynote sessions with the speakers, and also live Q&A sessions, along with the question and answers that we have already received with the people we collected the responses with. And this event is live on not just YouTube, but on different social media handles as well with CloudxLab. So about the Tech Week, this event is not, it basically promises you to participate in the keynote sessions, which are very exclusive sessions offering in-depth explorations of the latest trends and innovation. Now, I will quickly brief you about what CloudxLab does. So, we at CloudxLab are dedicated to fostering a community of tech enthusiasts, professionals, and learners who are passionate about staying ahead in evolving landscape of technology. And our mission is to provide you with the tools, knowledge, and connection you need to thrive in your tech journey. Whether you are a seasoned professional or just started with your tech journey, Tech Week has something for everyone. So let's begin with it. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce, and it's my immense pleasure to introduce our first speaker for today, Vittal Jadhav. Please welcome Mr. Vittal Jadhav. And quickly, I'll give about a brief summary about his career and what he does. So, as a technical delivery manager at Akkodis, Vittal has earned a stellar reputation for his remarkable ability to forge strong partnership and drive impactful collaborations. His extensive expertise in consulting and application delivery is truly impressive. Currently, Vittal is at the forefront of developing a cutting edge IoT fleet management solution with a keen focus on telematics, data analytics, and reporting. His innovative work is shaping the future of smart transportation. Vittal Journeys does not stop there, and he has made significant strides in the realm of connected cars for automotive cloud, enhancing the developer experience portal and spearheading advancements in data integration and data platform with an over of 15 years of rich experience in financial technology services. Vittal has been a driving force behind digital transformation, innovative across various domains. So, without a further ado, please join me in welcoming a warm welcome to esteemed speaker, Mr. Vittal Jadhav. Over to you, Mr. Vittal.
All right, Gargi, thank you so much.
Was it a long introduction for you?
Yeah, a little bit long, but that's fine. I think you're spot on that one. Okay.
Okay,
So
thank
hello
you.
friends. So wherever you are joining from, India, US, Canada, across the globe, whatever your time zones are, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. So as Gargi introduced, I have spent like over a decade and a half into banking and financial services and a couple of other industries. I just wanted to take this moment and present the study that I recently conducted on the blockchain technology, how this technology is changing the industry, especially it is impacting different industries as well, but my particular interest was more of banking and financial services. So today I'm going to talk about briefly, or maybe I would say highly, introduction about blockchain, its capabilities, and some use cases. Will little bit go deeper, and share some insights how the blockchain platforms have evolved and what are the different use cases that are being implemented by different industries. So there is a trade finance, then there is a cross border payments, KYC, know your customer, and then a couple of other use cases. We'll take a look at one by one, and then we'll also give audience also a little bit of chance to go for a question and answers. Okay. So are we all set for today's session? And then I can go ahead and start sharing my screen. Okay.
Absolutely, we
Uh,
are ready.
Yeah, we are ready. Vittal, feel
sure.
free to share your screen.
Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to talk about briefly what is blockchain and what are different elements of blockchain. Okay. So blockchain is a technology which consists of different pieces or different elements, I would say. A node is a computer or a server which performs some activities, and it connects the different pieces of the blocks together. Okay. And there is a transaction which is nothing but a small programmable executable code which consists of some rules, and it can take up the execution based on that rule within the blockchain. What is chain then? The chain is nothing but a series of blocks linked together in the particular order. So we'll go a little bit deeper when I just complete this one. And block, what is block? Block is, again, a set of code or a transactions within the block which stores the data, which has a particular structure. We'll talk about that. And then there is also something called as miners, which basically go and research or maybe do some computation to fetch the particular block out of it. And consensus mechanism, because blockchain resides on a distributed network where you have you know these different nodes, they are made up of many nodes within that blockchain itself, and then every piece of that node contains the block information, so which is kind of a immutable. We'll talk about that in a couple of slides. So a consensus mechanism is something, if there is a need for changing something on the blockchain, every node has to kind of agree to that, and that is the kind of a mechanism that it comes with. So there is something called as proof of work and proof of stake, and many other concepts that are applied when it comes to consensus mechanism. Okay, so now let's take a look at a few examples of what does a block means, or how does the block structure look like. So block will have a header, it will have a timestamp, it will have a Merkle key hash, which is nothing but a computated number, a unique number which can be identified, which can tie up with gives the uh, a mechanism for identifying particular block, and then that gets connected, and there is a hash that is also a unique number that gets added whenever the block is created and attached to the chain. So that's how the chain will form using this structure. And like transaction, again, transaction is a piece of code where the certain rules of that execution, how that executed will all reside within the transaction, and the block itself contains the data. Okay, so these are like very high level components that make up a blockchain as a platform. Now let's look at what are the different capabilities of blockchain in a financial transactions. Why it is taking so much of hype, or why it is being used in the financial industries. So the first thing is decentralization. So decentralization means it is a distributed network, and the ownership doesn't lie with one particular central entity, and because it's like distributed across, so there is a very less chance of it getting changed by a particular person or a particular entity. And then the decentralization also refers to peer-to-peer transaction, meaning like when one node talks to another node, or one block talks to another block. So that itself makes the transaction very transparent. So like as I said, one of the key features of the blockchain technology is its decentralization. Transparency means whatever the transaction happens within the blockchain, you know it's auditable, it's viewable, and the records cannot be altered without a proper consensus. And also it gives the audience the immense control over their data, whatever the data that they are storing in the blockchain. So they own the data, they control the data. So that is why it's very important for the banking and financial services that this kind of a technology is used. Okay, so let's take what other components that make up the blockchain. Okay, so blockchain also consists of something called as smart contracts. Now, how do these smart contracts actually work? So when a blockchain is formed, smart contracts are nothing but a set of rules and agreements. If someone wants to kind of execute a payment transaction, send a payment, or deposit something in the bank, there are some smart contracts that can be created. It's nothing but a piece of code that resides within the blockchain, or maybe I would say in the block, and it gets executed automatically based on meeting certain criteria or certain code. So that's how the smart contracts work. And with the help of some the business process toolings or streamlined workflows, we can automate how the smart contracts can work and how smart contracts can be executed. And we can make sure that we can streamline these processes. When it comes to banking and financial services, there are a lot of processes that go in the back office, or maybe from a end-to-end transaction perspective. So all these can be maintained and managed with the help of smart contracts, and with a lot of transparency, meeting regulatory compliances, and also improving the efficiencies. So that's why smart contracts are coming very handy, and you can do these things with more efficiency as well as reliability. Okay, so that's another key component of blockchain. And then people can develop different smart contracts, they can deploy, and they can and build whatever workflows, whatever processes they want to enhance in the financial services. So let's look at some capabilities. What does blockchain brings to the banking and financial services in particularly, or maybe its capabilities that are main elements of the blockchain. So the records within the blockchain, they are very like kind of a tamper proof, meaning immutable records which cannot be changed or altered by any entity or any program code, which has to go through some sort of a consensus mechanism, like as I mentioned. Then cryptographic protection. It's nothing but like the
Yeah,
so
sorry to interrupt. I think the presentation, like we are seeing the other screen, I guess. Yes,
The
seeing
same slide is there, slide number 1. If you are changing the slides, then it has not changed yet.
oh, is it?
Yeah,
I
we
think
are still at slide 1
Oh, you're
on the
still
screen.
slide one.
Right.
so. I think when we present, it opens a new window or new tab. So that is not shared, but the other one is shared, where the we can see the Microsoft PowerPoint or something.
Okay, give me a sec. Let me stop.
Yeah, because I could see that in the PPT, but I was like,
Okay. I was sharing a particular window, but let me share the entire screen. Hopefully, can you guys see it now?
yeah,
Or is it
yes,
still the
yes, yes,
Yes.
yes.
okay? So I was in this slide. I was talking about smart contracts. Is the slides are moving now?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Sorry, I didn't know that. Thanks for reminding me. Okay. All right.
No
So
worries.
I was talking about. Am I good to proceed?
Yeah, yeah, no worries.
Okay. So now let's talk some capabilities of the blockchain. Like as I said, like the immutable ledgers or immutable records which cannot be changed within the blockchain is one of the capabilities that is required for making the reliability of the data within the blockchain. Cryptographic protections, you can use cryptographic techniques, which is a mechanism to kind of safeguard your data, which runs on particular hash technologies and some other consensus mechanism, which will protect your data being stolen from the hackers or maybe any other kind of threats like DDoS, which is denial of services and all those kind of things. So that will particularly safeguard the data within the blockchain. Decentralized verification, meaning again, because it's distributed, ownership doesn't lie with a single entity. Everybody has to agree, and it reduces also the single point of failure. Even if particular node goes down, you can still restore or retain the data that still exists within the other nodes or blocks of the blockchain. Again, transparency and auditability. You can particularly download the logs, or you can view the logs for a particular transaction and identify any mischievous transactions or any fraudulent activities happening in the blockchain. So these are some capabilities that blockchain brings along with it. Okay. Now let's look at few topics where how blockchain is enabling different use cases. Okay. So with the help of blockchain, these days, as a part of digital transformation, most governments or most banking and financial services are leaning towards, there is a concept or there is a way of standardizing how we can identify in a particular entity, let's say a human being. Today in the world, everybody has their own set of standards. Like for example, in India we use Aadhaar cards, or in US we use SSN or maybe the driving licenses. So there are many forms of identities that exist today in the world. So everybody is trying to come up with their own sort of unique identifiers. What is the need for having digital identity? Is that it sets unique standard. There is only one way of identifying particular person, and which can be connected across his financial data, or the person can be known with that digital identity. So as a concept of that, there is something called as self-sovereign identity, which completely works on the blockchain technology, which uses the underlying blockchain distributed ledger, and then presents that to a user. So there are multiple stakeholders come into play. So let's look into that. So I'm just kind of a jumping from capabilities to some of the use cases and how blockchain is enabling those use cases. Okay, so one of them is the self-sovereign identity, which is nothing but some sort of a decentralized. Okay, basically this consists of three components, the three pillars, which is the decentralized identifier. So there is someone who will, kind of provide you those credentials, which are kind of a distributed in nature, and there is another entity that comes into play, which is a kind of a repository or some other body which kind of verifies those credentials, and then there is a blockchain which basically consists of all these things. You can store everything on the blockchain, and then those can be verified by those parties. Like again, here I would say, like, the holder has the DIDs, which is the user, like any person, verifiable credentials. Now the banks have those, and then they can use blockchain technology to kind of verify all these things. That's how blockchain kind of facilitates with the use case to identify and recognize the person as a part of their onboarding process in banking services, which is nothing but KYC, what we call as know your customer. Okay, so this is what it does basically. How it enables the self-sovereign identity, which is more relying on blockchain, and then there are these different elements that come into play, which enables the banking and financial services. It can be, like, used by many different industries as well, like IoT platforms, airlines, supply chain. So there are many other industries that are also being using it, or maybe even e-commerce platforms also can use it. So typically, any person or an individual who has the digital identity, he holds that, and he present it to the for the body where he is trying to do some transactions, and that body gets that particular identity got verified. All these transactions will be performed on the blockchain, the verification and presenting and everything, because these are like the blockchain technology, where the data is very immutable, safe and secure. That's why this is taking a lot of attention these days. Every country is trying to implement digital KYC with the help of self sovereign identity. Again, it's a vast area. You can use biometric identities or many other forms of identities with the help of blockchain, and enable the know your customer. Okay, so that's one of the trending industry or trending thing with the help of blockchain, how the industry is evolving and performing know your customer. Okay, so these are some of the use cases, like maybe in the past 3 to 4 years or 5 to 6 years range, where the digital KYC has been implemented. So let's take one example or a couple of examples in this slide. You can see. So Barclaycard with Everneem. So Everneem is again a blockchain, again forum, which has its own kind of a rules, and principles, best practices, which will give whoever wants to implement those onto their different purposes of implementing blockchain. So here, like Barclaycard has implemented digital identity, which shares the single clickable system. Users can manage and control their identities. Along with that, there is one more use case with Mastercard, Microsoft, and Sovereign. They did the same thing for, like, I think it's for the e-commerce purpose, where people can present their identity and then do some online transactions on an e-commerce portal. And then there is Midcase Digital Identity. This is also one of the technology providers who develop these digital KYCs, and they have been implementing those with different financial services. So digital KYC, why it is taking up again a lot of attention, is a paper based, is a very time consuming process. It takes a lot of time both for the banks and for the users to kind of authenticate themselves to be the legitimate users. And again, it's it's a cost for the bank. So that's why having digital KYCs also fasten the process of identifying a person as a digital KYC. And then it also meets the regulatory compliances. There are a lot of compliances around, like the KYC and AML, anti-money laundering rules and regulations. That is why it is very essential for banking and financial services to kind of do a proper thorough check of the person with whom they are going to do the business. Okay, so that's why this is taking a lot of attention these days. Self-sovereign identity, digital identity with the help of blockchain KYC implementations. So another use case that comes to our mind is the cross-border payments and remittance. So as we see these days, people are moving across one country to another country for jobs and all. It's become very commonplace where people are residing in multiple countries, and then they need to do the financial transactions. So today it's a kind of a lengthy process with the current the payment systems they use, like Swift protocols, and then there are also some sort of regulatory things that will kind of avoid the immediate transactions. So with blockchain technologies coming into play, the payment systems are taking much more advanced pace, and the transactions can happen, instead of couple of days, the transactions can be completed within couple of hours itself. So that's what is the blockchain is kind of enabling with the help of smart contracts and any other payment platforms. The second thing, why the cross border payments and remittances are taking again a bigger attention these days, it comes up with instant payments and a reduction of the fees. Generally, any cross-border payments, like if someone wants to send payment from US to India, to one country to another country, generally, which is called as a cross-border payments, the regulations, regulatory compliances, and the back office processes will take a couple of days. With the help of blockchain, these transactions can be executed with the smart contracts and remittance are taking a lot of attention. And let's look at some use cases here that again are implemented by some of the banking and financial services, or some technology providers who are coming up with the help of some blockchain elements, how a cross-border payment can be achieved. So Stellar is a blockchain platform which uses circles. Circles is a technology forum which has USDC, which is United States dollar coin, which is a cryptocurrency, and Felix is a payments platform. So these all together combined, they started giving the users an option to kind of make the payments from US to Mexico. So that payment was an alternative for the current Swift platform, which is kind of again, like as I said, has its own challenges, time consuming, then the fees associated with it, everything. So with this technology and using the USDS coin, it has fastened and more efficient and reduced the remittance fee. So because of this, they could like the Felix payment system could achieve a lot of revenue of so much of transactions happen from US to Mexico. People send money and all those things. So that is one of the use case. And then the Stellar also had another blockchain with cryptocurrencies for sending the data, and then for issuing the loans and for online purposes, all these things. That is another use case where we can see how it has implemented the cross-border payments. So Solana blockchain is another very prominent blockchain. It also used the same thing, USD coin, and then with the Solana Pay is again a DApps app where user can install that app and they can start making payments to their home countries, or they can do a real-time transactions for cross-border payments. So these are some of the areas where uh, the blockchain can be implemented or can be used widely. So these are some of the most recent examples. There are many examples, but I'm just trying to explain, or as a part of my study on the blockchain capabilities, these are some very, very high level use cases, how blockchain can facilitate these different transactions in banking and financial services. So now let's look at another use case. In today's world, most of the population is having some sort of a credit history, where they are either a working class, or they are like corporate entities, working in government, who are like prominent. But certainly some banks do not want to do business with them, just for because they don't have the right credit history built. So credit history is one of the important thing for banking and financial services, to understand that whether the person can repay the loan, or is the person is legitimate, how his debt to income ratio, everything is important. So with the help of blockchain, it can tap into those populations where they don't have access to the financial services. Maybe uh, people with certain backgrounds come into play here. And how blockchain is gathering the data through different means, and then it will come up with some sort of a scoring, so that the financial institutions can use that scoring, and they can also get benefited out of the different services that they provide. Maybe it could be loans or any other sort of benefits that a normal person or a normal entity gets. So that's why it is called as like increasing the inclusion for people who are currently not so much are familiar with the banking and financial services, are excluded from that. So to particularly identify those segments, that is one of the area where blockchain can also enable a lot of such services. In simple, like they can also have a credit history, and they can also build a credit score, and that way they can also be onboarded, and they can also get access to financial services. So one of the example here that has most recently, with the help of Avis Layer, it's again a blockchain platform and a consulting firm which worked with one of the commercial bank in China. So it identified all those unbanked and underbanked community, and then it helped them to come up with some sort of financial history, and then able to give them access to the required financial services. That is one example. The other example is a TransUnion, and with the help of Spring Labs, again, it's a blockchain platform with Quadrata. So they also make sure that the unbanked or underbanked people can get access to credit score, and they can also get access to these banking and financial services. So that's how it is also making a change in the banking and financial services industry, and also from a social change that the industry can recognize those people can be included in the financial services. Then another trend that is happening is mostly that is with respect to agriculture and farmers. So what will happen is basically the agro industry, whenever these farmers grow the crops, they need to sell those crops and trade them. They might not get the right value for that, and or there might be third parties or intermediaries coming into play, which will be kind of a gap for them to kind of get the right revenue, or right profit for their crops. So there are a lot of bodies that are coming into play, where they are issuing these tokens, which are pegged with the USD coins, or in a particular value of the market or the currency. A farmer can then sell the crops or grains to that, and he can buy those tokens, and then he can trade them. There is a lot of marketplace for the for trading these tokens, and that's where the farmers are nowadays doing a lot of these transactions. It also helps them to kind of sell their crops and get a good profit, because it solves a lot of intermediaries, middlemen, everything, and it's a streamlined process. So let's take one use case where how the agro loans are being issued. So most recently, Algorand, which is the kind of a blockchain platform, along with Visa, AgroToken is an AgroToken provider for the grains. So it issues the tokens for the farmers based on the grains they provide, and then the farmers can trade them in that Algorand blockchain, and then they can get profit out of their grains. Similarly, Santander Bank, I think in Spain, they rolled out this initiative 2 3 years back. They piloted this with 1,000 farmers. They kind of issued the tokens to them, and their blockchain platform enabled, along with Algorand, to kind of trade these tokens, so that the banks can benefit, the farmers can benefit, and also the entire blockchain platform can benefit. So that is one of another use case where industry is heading towards. And then finally, I think one of the use case that is more prominent from a global perspective is the not the trade finance, or I would say the supply chain management finance. So in this process, there is an issuing bank, there is a trading bank, and then there are the different entities that get involved, to do some sort of a transactions, or exchange of goods from one country to another country with the help of these banks. So again, if you go by the paper method or the traditional methods, it's a time consuming process, transactions, fees, and all these things will take a lot of time. So blockchain technology is enabling the trade finance and supply chain with a fast and more efficient way, so that the trade can happen and it can settle in. Again, the beauty of this technology is that whatever the number of days that were taken in the traditional trade finances, now it has been cut down to, like, less than 4 hours, or maybe between 4 to 6 hours. So that is the advantage of doing these trade finance transactions with the help of blockchain. Okay, so most recently, there are some examples here. So blockchain with the help of Wave blockchain platform. So Varuna is basically like the dairy farm, which has a lot of dairy products, and Seashellers is a trading company. So they wanted to do a transaction and get everything settled through trade chain, sorry, blockchain platform. So they carried out this trade finance execution. Like as I said, the transaction that generally used to take like 20 days, it got completed within, like, just few hours, 4 to 5 hours, what the press release says. And the amount was like $100,000 of the transaction. Similarly, the UBS Bank and Bank of Montreal, along with IBM and Batvia, they carried out a lot of transactions for doing the sale of the cars from Germany and other countries with the help of blockchain. So there is also another way where HSBC, with the help of Voltron, again another blockchain platform, with the help of Standard Chartered Bank, they carried out these transactions. They were very near real time. Again, the transactions were more efficient, took less than 12 hours to complete this entire set of transactions. So these were the some of the use cases that I just wanted to cover, where the industry is heading, how blockchain is being used in different services within banking and financial industry. Now let's look at some challenges associated with the banking and financial services. So not every thing is very easy to implement, because there are certain rules and regulations that come into play when it comes to banking, so which is a very conservative and reservative. So banks or any other financial institutes, they have to meet those regulations. So that's why they have to go with proper guidance, from the national banks and FCAs or any other governing bodies that they are affiliated with. Then, from a technology perspective, conversion from legacy systems. So that is one of the biggest challenge. I think we saw in a AI presentation on day one. So there is a lot of attention again how Gen AI or AI can do a lot of things, because there are some legacy systems. You cannot migrate them or convert them into a new modern technologies, or you cannot modernize them within a short span. So that is another thing where it could cost you a lot of money to convert those legacy systems onto more modern blockchain based technologies. So that's one of the challenge. Security and privacy, although we talked about immutable records, cryptographic algorithms and security, still there is a lot of chances. If the blockchain are like private in nature, there is potential that they can also get hacked by the hackers, and then data breaches can happen. The public blockchains are kind of a bit safer comparatively, but still the private blockchains are kind of come under the threats of security and privacy. Transaction costs, like bitcoins, ethereum, or any other blockchain platforms, essentially the transactions are a little bit slower. So scaling up of these transactions is kind of challenging, because one of the examples that we saw, traditionally, if it is taking 20 days, it can be brought down to a couple of hours. With the help of blockchain, in order to speed up those transactions and making it very real time, you have to scale the entire blockchain platform. And again, it comes up with infrastructure challenges. There is also challenges associated with how you can you know migrate, or how you can extend the blockchain technology itself. So again, here, like there are layer one, layer two blockchains, or maybe I could say on chain and off chain. So there are different ways of scaling the blockchain. So that's another topic. But again, so these are very most important challenges that anybody could face when it comes to implementing the blockchain services. Now let's look at where the industry is heading, or where the blockchain technology is evolving in the next couple of years, or maybe there is almost a lot of things that are going on which I have not covered here, but I'll take this slide, and we'll talk about those futuristic things that are happening in the blockchain world. So continuous innovation. So what is happening in blockchain along with um, the evolving blockchain technology? There is something called as CBCD, the central bank currency. So every country these days are issuing or coming up with their own coins, bitcoins, so people can start using, which is a digital currency. So that is one thing similar to what we just saw, like the circles USDC, which is United States dollar coin. So like that, the CBCD is also coming into play. And then the regulatory adoptions with the help of CBCD, it's making freedom for the users to use all these things, but there are associated complications and regulatories requirements that also needs to be met by the central banks or government banks. So there is another enforcement how the technology can be adopted. Then increased collaborations, like DeFi stands for decentralized finance. There is another niche area where how the entire blockchain can be, or tokens, whatever that we are using or consuming from the blockchain, how they can be used and leveraged within the finance sector. That is also one prominent area where blockchain is enabling DeFi systems. Another thing about improved customer experience is the last thing about the use cases around what is that called as just forgot that name. Enabling the digital payments with the help of these digital currencies, like what we just saw, like USDIS or any other system, and with the help of tokenization. I think that's where I was coming to. So tokenization is improving. So it is also giving a lot of advancement to the technology, and we can use this for a lot of other purposes. So that's where the current industry is heading towards, with the help of blockchain technology. So I guess with that, I kind of came to end of my presentation here. I just wanted to give audience a little bit of time for question and answer. So Gargi,
Right.
Thank you, Vittal.
Thank you.
Uh, yeah, thank you so much. So probably team member Sachin has collected some responses from the candidates previously as well as over the live chat. So Sachin, could you take over the question and answer sessions?
Sure. So most of the questions like Vittal already answered. Like the presentation you presented, Vittal, was like starting from explaining how blockchain, like how we can leverage the blockchain to decentralize and in the finance and going through the use cases and then also regulatory things, which basically comes in the mind at first place when we talk about the decentralization of the information, right? So you covered it very well. First of all, I would like to appreciate that part. But
thank
still,
you.
there are like, a few questions which might be the repetitive things, but still. So, like people want to know like how efficient it is in the financial sector. Like, if let's say when we talk about the finances, when we talk about the transactions, people don't want to wait when it comes to finances, right? And the transactions should happen immediately, and also like while keeping in the mind that it should be very efficient and secure. So how does this happen in terms of blockchain? Like it improves the efficiency, or like it reduces the efficiency, or is it like uh, efficient as well as cost effective, or like how does it maintain that part?
Yeah,
That
yeah. So, like one of the basic elements that I just talked about in the beginning is a smart contract. So everything happens. Smart contracts is something which is very hard. It's the heartbeat of the blockchain. So the more efficient your smart chain or a smart contract, the quicker and faster it is. And then the scalability of the blockchain. Like as I said, there are many different layers of the blockchain: layer one, layer two, off chain, on chain. So what blockchain technology, and every see these days, as it is evolving and everybody is coming up with their own sort of d apps, decentralized apps and everything, which enables these transactions to be more faster. And then the transaction fees, the traditional, the transactions in the bank, they are associated with the fees. Okay. And that gets reduced when everything happens on the blockchain technology with the help of smart contracts. So you are basically avoiding a lot of back office processing and making it an automated way with the help of smart contracts. So that itself is more efficient and less error prone and secure. Like the cryptographic encryptions and all these things, hashing mechanisms, that will make sure that the transactions are more safe and secure. And again, it's very fast as compared to the normal process. Even if you do a wire transaction or any remittance that we use, any bank, for that matter, for example, it takes a little bit of time, right? So these are very fast. It all depends. So I would say, like, depend on the implementations, how they are, like, what blockchain technology, what is the underlying mechanism, what is the protocol. Like, these days every technology firm or every startup is coming up with their own protocols which can work on any blockchains. Like we saw Stellar, IBM blockchain. So there are, again, prominent blockchains in the world, and technology firms are coming up with the D apps, which are the payment apps, and that can be integrated and that can be executed. So I would say it's very promising, very fast compared to the traditional way of making payments. So that's why digital currencies, USDC and CBCDs, they are taking a lot of attentions. And trust me, that's how it is evolving.
Mm. Yeah, like whenever I do a wire transaction, it takes like a minimum of 3 days, I guess, 2 to 3 days,
Yeah.
usually. And so, like with the help of blockchain, what are the expectations? Like, how fast it can be?
Like less than couple of hours, or maybe I would say less than a day, typically 4 to 5 hours, or less than 6 hours. We saw a couple of use cases, right? So in case of a trade finance, that the transaction got executed in less than 12 hours. In case of a cross border payments, it got like less than 4 to 5 hours. I think that's where we are heading towards. I think it also depends, if the governments or if the digital currency is adopted by the central banks, then maybe there are fair chances that it can still come down to less than 1 hour or 2 hours. So that's the uh,
So,
capability.
yeah, got it. That is a great explanation. So, moving to another question is that like regarding the regulations, like you explained it very well, but still like people have this question in the mind that even within cities and states, like data regulation rules changes, and when it comes to like the nations like USA, where the states have powers in the West, right? There are different regulations, and somewhere like we see that in the financial institutions in India, people or government ask them to keep their data within the country, or like there are a lot of regulations within that. So when we talk about decentralization, so how do we take care of the cross-border regulations?
Yeah, that's a very, very good question. Again, um, because you cannot simply go ahead and start doing your cross-border transactions. There is
Yeah.
still a governing body, like one of the example that I showcased, U.S. and Mexico. So, the governing bodies or the banks, they will still need to monitor those transactions. And also, there comes another addition to that is the KYC piece that I talked about. Are these transactions are going to a legitimate person, right? Are they valid? It should not be the case that with the help of the cross-border payments, we are not finding to an unethical way of some other organizations like anti-terrorism or anything like that. So that is why the AML, anti-money laundering rules, come into play. So you cannot just go ahead and do the transactions, even though technology is enabling to you to do so. There is still the audit logs and transactions logs. Everything needs to be recorded on the blockchain, and that needs to be presented to the central banks, which govern these activities, right? So that's how it enables the cross-border payments. And coming to the other question that you mentioned, the data, you can still govern the data whenever you create a blockchain, and there is a, let's take off chain. So one blockchain data residing in India, where the data of Indian community or Indian population, that can still be governed and making sure that that still resides in India itself. Even in traditional banking also, even though, like, let's take one example. If I have an account in an international bank in India, I cannot use the same account, same facilities in US. I have to go through KYC process. I have to create another account here. Maybe there is an option to kind of a linking between the accounts, but still there are two different accounts that gets created, even though the banks are same and they are operated in two different countries. That's how the banks keep the regulations, entities and the data secure and distinct from one country to another country. That is one of the requirements. So with the help of blockchain, we are not merging anything, right? That will still reside in a blockchain that is hosted or that is surrounded by Indian geography, that will not come into any other country. So that's the boundary that we can enforce.
So what I interpreted is that the way like I see that whenever we sign up for a web like a service which is like available worldwide. Let's say for an example, if I talk about the AWS, so AWS is like handled by Amazon AWS in the US, and there is some a Amazon India private limited company, something called in India, and we cannot switch the accounts where we were trying it like long back,
Right. Yeah,
right?
yeah. That's an
So
ideal example. Yeah.
I think like then the transaction would happen between the two different institutes. One is even if the same bank is there, but they are two separate entities, and the transaction is happening between them.
Yeah.
Okay, got it, got it. So I just have one more question regarding the adaptability of the blockchain. So I see that there are a lot of cryptocurrencies and working on like based on the blockchains and everything, transactions are happening. But when it comes to the acceptable currencies by the government, like the INR or USD or these other financial institutes which operates uh, from the government agencies. So where are we with respect to that? Like, do you have any idea? Like, is there any adaptability happening in these
Yeah.
financial institutes, or like is going to happen? So where are we currently?
Yeah. Yeah, again, it's a very, very good question. Like, so Bitcoins, everybody wants to trade or everybody wants to, gain access to that. So that is why I said, right, the central bank currency repository, CBCD, is what it stands for. So every country have their own central bank. Like in India, it's a Reserve Bank of India. US has its own bank, every country. So today, as of today, across the world, there are 135 countries, or maybe roughly about between 135 to 150, I would say. At least 135 is the accurate number, which I can say. They have come up with their own CBCDs, which is the Bitcoin, the currency which can be adopted by bank. Okay, so the banks issue these currencies. They are called as central, currencies, and that can be traded as a digital currency. That's where the adoption is going on. Now, out of these 135, some of them are active. Like I would say, I think I could have presented that here, but just kind of a thought. Like if there is a question, I can basically answer that. Now that is a question. So out of those 135, there are about 27 to 35 CBCDs are active and actively traded and adopted by the countries. Okay, one of these is like US, Singapore, and I think Germany. So a couple of these countries are actively adopting those CBCDs, and there are some countries which are in pilot, and there are some countries which already have done pilot, but they have put that on hold for some reasons. Again, the across the globe, the regulation has to be coming into play, where any kind of a transaction, intra country transaction or a cross border, they have to have some regulations around that. So that's the adaptability is going towards. Maybe it will have its own challenges sometime down the line, maybe another couple of years. Every country will come up with some sort of a treaty or an agreement. If someone wants to use these CBCDs and do a transactions and all those things, that can happen in the near future. But that is what is the current state. So out of 135 countries, like 35 are actively using, and about 40 50 countries are still doing the pilot. Some are adopting, some they have put on hold. Again, it's across all the continents I'm talking about. Okay, so that's the current state of adoption of the Bitcoins. And you can trade. I mean, if you are not bound to any kind of regulations, you can still go ahead and you can purchase the Bitcoin, and you can trade onto any marketplaces. But it is riskier because you don't have any control, because it is not governed by the regulatories. Every platform has its own marketplace. You can trade it, but if you go with the governed bodies like the CBCDs, then you have even if there is a loss, you still can manage. In the loss means it's not a loss, but you can be pegged. Like pegged means 1 to 1 ratio of a Bitcoin that comes up with these CBCDs. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, completely. So what I interpret is that like people started accepting government agencies, started accepting, and people are having talks around it. Who have doubts, the are like CBCDs who have doubts, they are like getting that clear and moving on with that. Okay, so that was a good response. Thank you, Vittal, for answering my questions. And if Gajendra or Gargi, do you guys if you guys have any questions for Vittal, so please go ahead. That was my time.
Uh, yes, Vittal, thank you for your presentation. Right. This topic, blockchain, is quite close to my heart. I've been following it for the last 8 years.
Okay.
And uh, right. So, a few questions I had. You said that smart contracts is the heart of every blockchain. So, just wanted your some clarity on it. Uh, do you think smart contracts is part of the Bitcoin network as well?
Smart contracts, yeah, I mean, the way that it works is basically for when it comes to mining those bit currencies or bitcoins, right? So you can enable those smart contracts and do the mining. So it's smart contracts is nothing but a any piece of code that you can install or deploy on the blockchain, and it can solve any use case that you want to solve.
Right. So see, with blockchain and crypto, the greatness is that it's a trustless system, right?
Mhm.
And this is the technology and currency which is interplanetary. So when the species, human species, if it becomes interplanetary, this is the only trustless way in which we will be able to execute a transaction, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
And right. So that is understood. I have few questions, right? One of them is related to the scalability part, right? Because we
Mhm.
see that there have been significant advancements, but somewhere down the line, the widespread adoption is limited, right? If
Yeah.
so, why do you think this is happening?
So the first thing, as I said, right, the lot of these, Ethereum based bitcoins or the many platforms, the transactions are very slow in nature. Okay, so in order to make those transactions more faster, like the other platforms that I mentioned, Wave platform, Voltron, or all those things, so they are more, adopting to different protocols. So they are coming up with their own protocols. So these traditional platforms that we have, they are very slow in nature. So as every bit or every blockchain has their own protocols, the the speed will depend on those protocols, how quickly that enable, and then the scalability, like the underlying infrastructure also plays a crucial role in order for the smart contracts to be deployed, executed, and how these nodes operate within that large scale infrastructure. So that is why the underlying infrastructure and the protocols play a crucial role when it comes to scaling. And then when we talked about the different concepts within the blockchain, right, they also come into play when you have a layer one, layer two, sort of blockchains. They have their own set of, like, the proof of stake and proof of work, which enables these chains. Or maybe you can make sure that with a combination of these off chain or layer one, layer two, you can extend these capabilities and make sure more scalable in nature. So the scalability is more towards how fast you can carry out a transaction. That's the thing. And that depends on the protocol on which the blockchain is being built. Like there are many protocols, there are many vendors, they're coming up with their own protocols to have the transactions executed.
Right. So one of these protocols or blockchain that comes to mind is Tron, right? It
Mhm.
has less than one, I think, 1 minute transaction time, right,
Mhm.
from anywhere in the world. But and this similar to Tron, there have been a lot of other blockchains and cryptocurrencies out
Mhm.
there, right?
Mhm.
With very
Yeah.
like less than a minute transaction time, right? But and these technologies have been there for the last 6 years, 6+ years, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But the adoption since 2018, the like in terms of using the technology is very limited, but in terms
Yeah.
of trading cryptocurrency, there has been a huge boom, right? So,
Yeah.
uh, my understanding is still to my question is still to understand, what because it could not be just the transaction cost. If it were that, it's been solved before, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
or the transaction speed, right?
Yeah.
So,
So the adoption. Mhm. So transaction cost is not the only thing when it, if it is particularly to a financial services industry. See, they are bound by the regulatory and compliances. So that is why there is a lot of things that are still going on. There are a lot of laws, rules, and regulations are being formed to kind of make sure that the blockchain, any transactions or any financial services that they want to enable to their customers have met those regulations. That is why you see there is a adoption, but it is gradually coming into play, because since 2018 or 2016, I think it's almost like this technology is there since like at most like maybe 10, 15 years. Even though invented and everything is quite back, but it came into existence or more attention by the industry at least 2010. Like for the past 10 to 15 years, people are talking about blockchain and how it can be used, adopted. Now, based on the study that I seen, there are some industries they are adopting, even though there are some use cases, and there are some blockchains that are also being like put on hold or they have been shut down. So one of the example that I can say is there were like about 10 to 12 banks, they formed of with the blockchain with IBM called as V as a trade platform, that ran for a couple of years. There was success and everything, but because of some rules and regulations, regulatory compliances, they had to shut down. So that is one example where the adoption is kind of a little bit trickier because there was no rule. Now, because of the cyber security and cyber law, all these things, and again, banks and the regulations are also evolving. They are enforcing these tech firms or any financial services institutions to comply with those rules. And again, there is also a lot of liberty, because of digital transformation, digital currency, digital payments is also taking up the world, because they also want to gain revenues. Even though there are certain transactions definitely no go for banks, but digital payments, nobody is stopping. The Felix, the payments platform, what they talked about, I think these platforms, they use WhatsApp as a payments platform with the help of those Circle C, USAID coin and all, or Solana Pay. But again, they are not directly associated with any bank or financial institutions. People can still go ahead and do. But adoption on the banking and financial services, it's still a bit of a lengthy process, or it's an ongoing. It's still evolving. Um, you know, yeah, adoption is, I would say, like it will take time as everything is changing and evolving.
right. Thank you very much, Vittal. This has been a very wonderful session. We expect, we went over the time. So,
Yes.
thank you very much.
So,
It has been very nice talking to you.
All right.
yeah, thanks, Vittal. It has been very insightful, and let me say it was a very detailed presentation as well. So before you take off, I just want to have a little note for our viewers. Many of them could be working professionals, so they might not have joined us live. So let me tell you that the videos will be available on YouTube, as well as you may connect with Vittal on his LinkedIn. We have shared his LinkedIn profile as well. So feel free. These are people very passionate in their domains, and they have volunteered to provide you these value-added sessions. So even if you think that your friends or your peers can these session could be beneficial for them, so please do share it with them. It will be available on YouTube for free. And like if in case you think your questions has not been taken here, you can directly reach out to Vittal, and you can also email CloudxLab with your questions, and we will take it after these sessions. So, Vittal, if you have any closing remarks.
Yeah, as I said, like in simple words, these are just very, very high level. I just wanted to kind of, let
Right,
people
right,
take this opportunity with CloudxLab and create some awareness how technology enables different industries to kind of adopt and do more business or evolve in their own world. So I just kind of trying to make people aware about it. That's what it is. But again, blockchain is an ocean. Like I think there is a lot of things that are happening both from a technology perspective and from a rules and regulations perspective on the financial services. Yeah, it's an evolving industry. There is a lot to read and a lot to learn. I'm just a a small entity or maybe a single person with some very little bit of knowledge that I wanted to share here. But again, thanks for everyone listening with patience, and thanks CloudX and everyone here for giving me this wonderful opportunity. It was wonderful speaking on this engagement and looking forward to any future events on a new topic or a different topic. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you
Thank
so
Vittal.
much,
you.
Vital, and thank you so much. Yes, so whenever our audience, whenever they are watching, please connect with Vital. Take out your questions. These sessions are not for the learning, only for learning, but also meant for networking. Join in these discussions, and if you are interested, be our participant, be our speaker. Thank you so much, Vital.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Uh, all right. So our next speaker is going to be Saurabh Kumar, and he has already joined us long back. Thank you, Sorab, for joining us.
Hi, Sorab.
Hello.
Sorry to keep you waiting.
Yeah, no problem.
Yes. Uh, so for the audience, I will like to begin with a brief introduction. It might take long, probably a minute or so. So get ready to be inspired with our next speaker here, who is Saurabh Kumar. He is a lead data scientist at Apple. Saurabh stands at cutting edge of machine learning and experimentation, driving unparalleled efficiency in ads marketplace. With an impressive 8 years journey across the giant like Lyft, Capital One, American Express, and HSBC, his expertise has fueled remarkable productivity and growth. And that's not all. Saurabh's brilliance extends beyond the corporate world. So he has also contributed to the groundbreaking data science project at NASA and Pfizer in his field as diverse as climate change, healthcare, and retail finances. Armed with degrees from Columbia University and prestigious IIT Kanpur. So Saurabh's skill set is a powerhouse of machine learning, data structures and algorithms, economics, and big data ecosystem, all perfectly balanced with sharp business intuitions and top tier consulting skills polished at Columbia Business School. So be prepared to delve into the fascinating world of data science and innovation and join me in welcoming Saurabh. Welcome, Saurabh. Good evening to you.
Thanks a lot, Gagi, and I'm thankful for giving me the opportunity to speak at this conference and looking forward to sharing my insights with everyone.
Definitely, we are pleased to have you. And the topic that you have chosen might interest many people. So yeah, we are here to get more insights into this.
Sure. Yeah, I'll share my screen.
Definitely.
One second. Okay, so let think it is asking me for preference. One second. So I'll just leave the meeting and join. I think I'm not able to share the screen. I need to give my computer the permission. Just give me 1 minute. I'll just join.
Yeah, no worries. You can take a moment and rejoin.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, sure. Right. So the format is same. Like now the Saurabh will be joining soon for his keynote discussion on the topic that he is going to take. And feel free to post your questions, guys. Yeah, hello Saurabh. Your screen is not shared, but your audio and video is mute.
Can you see my screen now? No?
Yes, your screen is shared right now.
Okay, sure. So today I'm going to talk about experimentation in online marketplaces. So I think you mentioned, so I have worked in machine learning, I worked in product data science, and in those places I did use experimentation quite a lot. But in my current role at Apple, I'm more of a platform data scientist, and what it means is that I'm working on like new experimentation methodologies which anyone can use. Like if, for example, you want to launch a new feature, you often test it out in the real world. So you like use an experimentation platform. And so that's where right now my role is. And I've been like 2 years into the role, so it's like it requires a lot of research. So I'm fairly new to this, but I just wanted to share some things which I learned, which were very new to me when I was a product data scientist and machine learning engineer. I did not think about all of these things. So I feel every data scientist should learn about this, and it will help them in their work. And today's presentation is more about um, today's presentation is more about giving an intuitive view of experimentation rather than going into the statistical methodology behind it. Because I feel just in 30 minutes you might not be able to learn statistics, but I feel my goal will be served if I can give you the intuition behind this, so that you can go on and like learn some, like you can go and research the papers and learn more about it, learn the statistical methodology behind it. But I have fairly kept mathematics and statistics out of it. Even though like my degree is in mathematics, I have studied statistics, but I feel that intuition is more important. And then learning statistics is fairly easy. Okay. And yeah, feel free to interrupt me with questions as you may have it. So let me just,
So thank you for that.
yeah. So today I'll start by talking about what A/B testing is. What are some of the basic assumptions that we have in A/B testing? In particular, there is a assumption of SUTWA, which is fairly important for A/B testing. And so, what in case it gets violated, when does it get violated, and what are some of the downsides of the violation? And then I'll give some examples on that. And then I'll also talk about some of the basic statistical techniques, some experimentation methodologies that could help mitigate it, and as well as some causal inference techniques that you can use for that. And then I've left some references so that people who are interested in the subject can then go on and read more about it. Okay, so why do we need online experimentation? Because why not just like you have a new idea, you just launch it, right? Like, but we need this because uh, because we want to use data to guide our decisions rather than just plain intuition. Plain intuition is definitely important because creativity is the mother of every invention. So creativity is important, but once you decide on an idea, you want to test it out and see whether it is actually making sense to other people also, because you might have a certain notion, but that notion might not be true in the real world. So you need to have data to back it. So that's where experimentation helps. The second thing is you try out you try out different ideas, you fail, but you learn something from the data, then you iterate and make that feature better and then again launch it. So you keep on launching new features, and so there is rapid innovation happening because you think of an idea, you launch an experiment, you get some data. If for example it succeeds, good enough. If not, then you learn something, you change the feature, and then you again launch it. So there's rapid innovation happening because of that. Really, there's risk mitigation as well. Let's say you come up with a idea, but it is really bad. I mean, that doesn't make sense in the real world. So when you launch it, you can see bad results, and then you can like straight away stop that, and that instead of like launching it out and then losing lots of dollars or lots of rupees. So that's another reason why we need online experimentation. And so A/B test is the gold standard of online experimentation. So what do we mean by an A/B test? It means is what we mean by that is once you launch like before you launch a new feature, you think about what is the metric that I want to improve. So you choose your North Star metric. So these are one or two or three metrics that are most important to me. There's also a concept of a guardrail metric, like you want to increase conversions, but you don't want to um, you don't want to show irrelevant ads to users. So there are some guardrail metrics. Then once you decide your metric, you decide how you want to do the experiment. Do you want to divide users or sessions? And so there's a concept of a randomization unit. And then once you split users or split sessions, there is one control and there's one treatment. So you're randomly splitting it into control and treatment so that the users are statistically not different. Once you do that, you have the old version of the just give me 1 second. There's some disturbance. So you give the old version of the feature to control and the new version to treatment, and then you after a pre-specified duration you look at the results. Like, did you see any statistically difference between treatment and control? So that is what A/B testing is. Any questions till now?
No, no, Sorab, you go ahead. I'll shortly ping you and I have a question.
Sure. So what are some of the standard assumptions, right? One big assumption is that you are dividing the users randomly, so there is no statistical difference between control and treatment. And statistical difference means that in terms of any metrics also, there are no, like for example, you divided into treatment and control, but treatment had more males than or significantly more males than control. So or treatment, there were significantly more people in the 25 to 35 age category. So that kind of difference you don't want. So that's why you divide it randomly. So that's a big assumption that the users are identically distributed in treatment and control. Second one is the stable unit treatment value assumption. This is very important. What it means is that, let's say you assign a treatment to a user, whatever treatment you assign to that user, the outcome will not depend on what treatments you assign to other users. So it should be isolated. Whatever treatment you are assigning, the outcome is only dependent on that. It's not dependent on what is happening to other users. That is the stable unit treatment value assumption. And another one is that there's only one version of the treatment. It does not mean that one treatment means something else in context of another user. The treatment, if there is one treatment arm, the meaning of treatment remains the same. Like, let's say you administer a medicine, or after 15 minutes, it doesn't mean like in the treatment arm, you cannot administer the medicine in 10 minutes in another treatment arm. So whatever definition is there of the treatment, that should remain consistent. That is the Sutwa assumption. But like in a lot of marketplace settings or even in social networks, this Sutwa assumption is violated. So I'll give an example of when this is the case. Like let's say there's a social network, for example, Facebook, Instagram. These are all social networks, right? So you want to, as a data scientist, you let's say you came up with a new feature, a story feature, which many of us know about. Like in Instagram, there's a story. In Facebook, also there are stories. WhatsApp also has stories. So when someone, like, let's say you were a data scientist at that time, you introduced a story feature, and you wanted to see like how the story feature impacted the engagement. Most of the time, social networks engagement is the main metric that they look to optimize. Um, so you have a control and treatment group. So you introduce the story feature only to the treatment group, and control group does not have that feature. So definitely, once you start, let's say you introduce a story feature, actually treatment users are getting more hooked onto that story feature. They are sharing stories. So their engagement is increasing. But at the same time, what is happening is that they are sharing stories on their posts or on their walls. So other users and control are also seeing it and they are engaging with it. So their engagement is also increasing. But the Sutwa assumption was that what is happening in or to one user should not affect what is happening to the other user. So therefore, there is a Sutwa evaluation that is happening, and what it will lead to is that when you are measuring the treatment effect, the control engagement values also get elevated, so the overall treatment effect decreases. So that's one example of interference in a social network, and because of that, Sutwa is validated. The second one is e-commerce, right? So let's say Flipkart. There's Flipkart. There's Amazon. So they come up with a new recommendation algorithm, and because of that, leads to better conversion for some product, let's say shirts, right? So but the inventory of products is limited, right? So if for example, because of that algorithm, treatment starts ordering more shirts, so that less will be available to the control users. And so what this means is that their conversion of shirts will decrease because there's less inventory. So it can lead to exaggerated treatment effects in that case. Because controls engagement controls conversions are decreasing, and treatments are decreasing because of whatever is happening in treatment. This is leading to exaggerated treatment effects. The earlier case in social networks was the treatment effect was decreasing. So same violation of Sutwa can lead to like in opposite directions, in like effect treatment effect getting reduced or increased. Next example is also very similar. This is transportation networks. Let's say Uber, Ola, those kind of networks. Where you have drivers, and you have users who order cabs on their platform. So an example is you want to test discounts. What happens if we give discounts to users? Will it lead to more rides? Will it lead to more driver earnings? So let's say you wanted to see if it leads to more rides. You divided users into treatment and control. In treatment, you started giving more discounts. So you want to measure that. Again, the problem is that if you start giving discounts to users, probably users will order more. But the drivers are limited, right? So if they start ordering more, um, drivers will start getting used up. But um, the, the drivers are actually the same for both control and treatment. So control will have less drivers, and again there is exaggerated treatment effects. So this is like very similar. So this is a two-sided platform, and you can think of it as drivers as a resource. So again, in the previous one, in an inventory case, there was a resource constraint. Another example that I can think of is like what I'm working on, and I'm working in ad space. So in the ad space, there is control, which in the ad space there's supply and demand. So supply is coming from users who search apps on the app store. So when they search for apps, we show them ads. Where are these ads coming from? These ads are coming from advertisers who bid that if someone searches for um, ride app, show them Uber or Lyft or Ola. So the Uber, Lyft, and Ola are actually the demand side who are actually bidding to show their ads. So that is like a two-sided marketplace again. And here the constraint would be the budget that these ads have. So like Uber has a budget saying that I'm not going to spend more than $1,000 in a day. So that's the resource constraint. So if treatment starts spending more, then or more conversions happening in treatment. So this would mean is that in control, less budget is available. So very similar to the inventory problem that we discussed. The resource there was the inventory. So as you can see in like marketplaces and in online marketplaces and social networks, interference is very common, and what it leads to is bias treatment effects. And the other thing is the statistical power is also reduced because of the bias treatment effects. And because of that, you can take misleading decisions because whatever treatment effect that you are seeing is not actually true. It is biased. So based on that, if you take decisions that can lead to poor outcomes, because this is an artificial bump in the treatment effect that you are seeing. So that's the result of violation. And so we define this phenomenon as interference. And so this is specifically in the experimentation domain. It is interference. What it means is that the outcome of the experiment unit is influenced by the treatment or outcome of other experimentation units. So that is what is the phenomenon of interference. And yeah, like it leads to so many problems in the experimentation. The standard way of A/B testing is not helpful in this case, and you cannot rely on that. Any questions so far?
Yeah, so not really, just for thinking about that reduced statistical power, right? So that is, I understand that, okay, if we are not taking that in consideration, like we are not the Sutwa protocols, so that will happen. But what about the compromised external validity? I could not understand that completely. Like, so if you
Yeah,
could
what it means
explain.
is that validity of your results do not hold aside from the experimentation. So once you launch it into the real world, these are all these points are related. So once you launch it into the real world, the validity will
Mhm.
not hold. So that's what it means.
Okay, okay, okay. Got it, got it. I think we can do it.
Um, cool. Let's look at what the mitigation effects are, right? So there are a variety of mitigation techniques available. So there are two main categories. One is like you create a new statistical methodology of doing, sorry, you create a new experimentation methodology. And the second is you use some causal inference techniques to analyze your data. So the first one is like budget split testing. So I mentioned that there is resource constraint experiments. So one easy way to solve for that is like you split the resource evenly between treatment and control. So I mentioned budget, so you split the budget or you split the inventory between treatment and control. And so that interference is not happening now, right? Like whatever is happening in treatment, so if treatment spends more of starts spending more, control will have the same budget. Like you split the budget at the start of the experiment, so it's not that treatment is eating into the budget or cannibalizing the budget of control. So you split the treatment and do it, so that's where you get cleaner results. I think only problem with this is that it can lead to potential inefficiency, like the budget, if you start splitting things up, um, as like and one arm is actually performing really bad than the other, then you are losing money because of the split that is happening. There are other reasons also, like let's say you some advertisers are small, and you split the budget for them also. What can happen is that conversions might not happen at all because of the budget being less than the bid, what they bid. So that can potentially lead to bad results for small advertisers, or might bias the results for those advertisers. So there are some side effects, but overall budget split testing is something which is widely used for resource constrained experiments. The second is switchback testing. So the switchback testing is similar to A/B testing, except that you're not splitting users or sessions, but you're splitting times. So let's say Ola is running some experiment. Rather than splitting users into treatment and control, we'll switch time. So between 10:30 to 11, I will be showing like I'll be giving discounts to users. Between 11 to 11:30, I'll not be giving discounts to users. Between 11:30 to 11:30 to 12, again I'll start getting discounts. So randomly, maybe what you can do is that randomly split the times and assign one time interval to treatment, other time interval to control, and then give the treatment effect. So their interference is not happening because uh, all users are getting the same treatment. So that's another way to solve the problem. Um, Again, the problem with this approach is that it can have carryover effects, because what, like let's say there are some rides which happened in the between 10:30 to 11, they actually carry on after 11 as well. So it's, and there can be some carryover effects of rights that are there in both the sessions. The other side effect could be reduced power, because if you think about it, number of users are in millions, but time intervals, you split half an hour intervals, it is still not into millions, right? It's still limited. So the power of your results might not hold. So that are some side effects of switchback testing. Again,
So,
Mhm.
Saurabh, like as you spoke about the ads, right? You are into ads. So, how does this help in like ads, like switchback testing? I got that point. Ki, when we are experimenting with the ads, so time plays a crucial role when people are watching it, or when people are watching or scrolling their phones, or maybe their other electronic devices like TV. But do you have any example for that, like related to the ads, ad tech?
Yeah, sure. So this is a different experimentation methodology. Like, so in an ads domain, what it would mean is, right. Um, one day of, let's say you're testing a new ads recommendation algorithm, right? So how this
Mhm.
switchback test would work for this is that, let's say you have model one and model two. So one day you just show like based on model one. So you show ads based on model one for one day. Next day you show ads based on model two.
Okay.
So the in case of ads, the resource constraint was budget, daily budget the advertisers have, right?
Mhm.
And the problem that was happening is between treatment and control, that budget was shared.
Yeah.
But if you show one day one particular model, and based on one particular model, and another day based on another particular model, the daily budget is fixed for that day. So everyone is getting the same budget. The next day, everyone is getting the same budget. So the sharing of budget that I was talking about, that is not happening.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
that's how
Yeah.
we
So
remove
even
that
if
effect. Mhm.
even if one version of ad with that specific model is working great, but there might be an issue of the budget limitations for that day, right? Like it might happen that the ad exhausts the budget like in the very beginning time frame of the testing. Is it?
True. But it is treatment, right? Every ad, so that day is all dedicated to treatment, right? So it's not happening that treatment is affecting the control here. One day is treatment, next day is control. So if you think about it, the budget for treatment for that particular day, every entire budget is going to treatment. Next day, entire budget is going to control. So
Okay.
that mixing of treatment and control is not happening. Uh,
Okay.
earlier, earlier when we were doing it, there was a mix of like whatever is happening in treatment was happening in like affecting control, because control was sharing the same budget.
Another question related to the same thing basically is that in terms of the cabs like Ola and Uber, right? Like mostly weekdays are quite common. Like the data, like the rides and everything. If we consider about the city, so the weekdays are mostly same except for the Fridays, and Saturday Sundays are pretty different for them. So they get the 4 days of time frame to test it. Like Monday to Thursday, they get a very good time frame to test something, right? But in case of ads, I believe that the watch time differs every day. Like it might be very different on the Monday and Tuesday. Like there will be a lot of difference in that. Like as far I know.
Yeah.
Uh, so like in that case, like switchback testing is kind of really helpful, or like it's not that
Yeah,
helpful.
so I think what you're referring to, the time-based effects, right?
Mhm.
And when you do things like that, time-based effects definitely play a part. So what you can do in that case is that you will have to run the experiment for longer. You cannot run for 4 days and get the results, right? Because as you mentioned, a Tuesday
Mhm.
might be very different from Saturday. So if you just run it for 7 days, and three of the, like, for control everything is happening on a weekend, and for treatment everything is happening on weekdays, so it can lead to a problem, right? So you'll need to do randomization, and you'll need to do it for a far longer time period, not just 4 days, but much more than that. I think so that is definitely a problem. The other way to handle um, this problem is that you create some duplicate campaigns, and Um, there are other ways to handle the problem, but I think for ads use case, switchback might not be the best use case, just because the budget is daily. So if
Mhm.
you do it daily, it is hard. What you can for Ola and Uber, it makes sense, I think, because you can split it into 30-minute time intervals, and
Yeah,
that you have more units there. So your point is really is very valid. So what works for Ola or Uber might not work for ads. So that's definitely true.
thank you, Saurabh. We can move ahead.
Okay, the third one is graph cluster randomization. So this is more useful in case of social networks. So as I mentioned, um, let's say we launched a new recommendation algorithm, or let's say we launched a story feature, and users in control are users in treatment are using the feature more. It will affect users in control also, because they are also seeing the stories and responding to it. So their engagement is also increasing. So the one way to take care of this is that you split the entire network of users into clusters, and then the clusters might not be clusters have minimum interactions between them. So obviously you cannot isolate completely, but you can isolate it well enough so that they have minimum interactions. And then for each cluster, you assign treatment and control. So the randomization unit becomes the graph cluster here rather than users. So that's the way for social networks. I think the the disadvantage of this is, again, how do you identify the clusters? How do you minimize interactions between them? So you'll have to come up with a really solid algorithm for that. And then again, the power of this analysis will reduce, because users are millions, but or billions, but clusters won't be that much. So to mitigate that, you might want to run the experiment for a longer period of time. But that's another way. So as we are going through this, each one of them has their own pros and cons. So what might be suitable for a particular use case might not extend to another one. So you need to choose what is best for you. And essentially how technology companies do it is that they will start by running an A/B test experiment, and they will first assess if that there is actually, because you can have metrics to detect interference. Like for example, in ads use case, we have some overspend, like we define some overspend metrics to analyze if there was interference happening or not. So you first check if there is actually interference happening or not, and your results are invalid. Only if you see that there's actual interference, you move on to the specialized techniques, and then run them and see, conduct the analysis, because these are costly as well to run. And then the second thing is that the validity or power of this test reduce as well. So these are some of the experimentation techniques. But beyond that, there are also some statistical techniques that we can use. And one of them is interrupted time series kind of analysis. The way we use it in our use cases, that, or we have started to use it, we have not completely used it, but what you can use it, let's say you launch a test, you see some good results, and then you promote it. So ideally, if you promote it, as in you increase the percentage of users who are getting the treatment, ideally what should happen is that your metrics should go in the desired direction, because you ran the experiment at 5% of users, now you promoted it to 80% of users. So your metrics should see a shift. So that's something we can capture through a interrupted time series. Um, and because you're looking at the overall numbers, this will interference will not be a problem, because we are not analyzing it treatment and control wise. So you have statistical techniques to see if there was a bump in the time series, and so you can use that to understand if your feature is actually leading to desired change in your North Star metrics. And finally, there's a concept of a synthetic control. So what a synthetic control means is that, um, let's say, I'm giving you an example here. Let's say, uh, how, like, one of the features of our platform is how we spend the budget of advertisers. How do we space it out? Because we might, and we call it budget smoothing algorithms. So we want to space out the budget throughout the day, because people throughout the day will be showing their ad, like searching for something, and we want to show them ads throughout the day. So how we spend the budget is through these algorithms. So we want to test out these algorithms. And again, interference is a problem, because here the thing that we are testing is actually the budget, how we are spending the budget. So you cannot just divide into treatment and control and show them the different budget smoothing algorithms, because the budget itself, that budget smoothing is itself that is being tested. So it is a big problem here. So the way we do it is that we take a country, and we look at its time series of a particular metric, and we regress it on other countries, who are like whose time series we can like whose metrics like we can take the country that we're interested in as a dependent variable, and regress it on other countries who are independent variables. So you and then what you do is that you launch the feature in that country you are interested in, and you see what are the metrics after launching the treatment. And so you compare it now to the other countries. So you build a model first to uh, you build a model first to take the to calculate the metric for a dependent country um, as a regression on other countries, and then you use that model to see if like after launching the treatment, if the metric actually increased beyond that. So that's how you like define synthetic control. So that's another method that is used. Again, it has its own problems. The modeling needs to be like, first of all, you need to find such synthetic controls. This control should exist, that there is like you can actually predict the um, North Star metric of a country based on other countries. Such kind of controls should exist. And even if they exist, what relationship holds prior to the treatment should hold after the treatment also. So that's another like that's the con of this approach. So in reality, people use a mixture of all of these approaches to see which one works, and then like test out their results. So that's another method of mitigating interference. Okay, yeah. So this was a presentation. So I have attached like a list of references which you can use to learn more about each of these methods, and I'm happy to answer more questions here. Also, like post this session. Also, if you have questions, you can like ask me on LinkedIn or on my email.
Sure, Saurabh. Thank you for the detailed explanation. The explanation was so detailed and from the foundation level that I couldn't ask much questions, and like all of the things were already answered, which people posted with me earlier. Only one thing is that while Sutwa, right, where you were speaking about the violations of Sutwa. So people I also have this question in mind, when we discuss about the A/B testing. So how do we keep that in mind? During an experiment, how do we keep that in mind, and what should we keep that in mind that, oh, we are not violating it? Because if you are realizing it after the testing or during the testing, then that is not that helpful. No, it is helpful, but then again the time increased, right? So
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah. So like I mentioned that, like for a, that's a very good question. I think one thing you can definitely do is, first of all, not all experiments in marketplaces will be subjected to SUTWA. So like, let's say, for example,
Mhm.
I want to test a new relevance algorithm. Like relevance algorithm means that I want to show more relevant ads to users, right?
Yeah, right.
Um, and my only criteria is that my North Star criteria is the only thing I care about is um, users are spending time on the ads, or users are clicking on it, or users are not turned away from those ads. So those metrics are not dependent upon interference, right? Like so in those cases, because whatever happening in treatment is not affecting things in control. Like I only thing I care about is users. I don't care about advertisers at all, or I don't care about their budgets being spent at all.
Mhm.
So in those cases, even though it's a marketplace, it is not affecting my metric of interest. Uh, s- so then interference is not a problem. I think majority of the times, though, it is a problem. But how much of a problem it is, you can actually judge from, like I mentioned, you have some metrics. Like in our case, there was a overspend metric that we formulated, and what it means is that for I would test out that if for example, if there is 50% control, 50% treatment, how much of
Mhm.
the budget was spent by treatment, how much of the budget was spent by control? Was there actual overspending or not? So sometimes there was no overspending. So in that case, we can say that budget constraint itself didn't cause any interference um, during the A/B test when we are actually running the A/B test. Unfortunately, you cannot do anything before the test to like say that okay, interference will be a problem, so I'll not run the A/B test. I will just use budget split testing, because if you do budget split testing, it is like it is a like it reduces efficiency of consumption of budget, and so it reduces your revenue straight away. So that's not a preferable option. It is only a preferable option when the feature is very important and you see there is a evidence of interference in the A/B test. If there is evidence, then you then move to these complicated techniques. So you should have some metrics which helps you understand if there is interference happening or not.
Okay. So before violations, what I understood is that before violations, we should basically focus on experimenting first. So we
Yeah,
should
with the
go.
standard way, experimentation, the standard A/B testing way, and checking if there's metrics, the interference metrics are, there's actually an evidence. And then
Okay.
if there is an evidence, I know there will be time wasted, but unfortunately that is something that happens. So you run it for 14 or 5 days or 6 days, and then you see that there's interference happening, then you move on to the like budget split testing or switch packs or whatever. Yeah,
Right.
because these techniques also have the shortcomings, right?
Yeah, I think that is the right approach. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Saurabh. Thank you for your time. And I guess like I'm done with my set of questions. If anybody have other questions from the team, they can proceed with theirs. So that was a wonderful explanation of like what we should keep in mind during the testing or building any vision or
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
Yes,
Thank you.
definitely. Thank you, Saurabh. And Ramesh has our next speaker has already joined us, and he has been watching your presentation. So Ramesh, would you like to ask him anything before you begin with yours?
No, it's fine. I think I joined in the middle, so it's fine.
Please, thanks, Ramesh. Thanks, everyone.
So,
Bye.
All right.
Thank you, Sorab.
No worries. Thank you, Saurabh.
Bye bye.
All right. Thank you, Ramesh, for joining and waiting so patiently with us. And
always.
yeah, and you would be our final speaker for today's Tech Week. And I would like to introduce you to our audience. And so, whoever is watching us live, still with us, so please hang up as we are ready for our next speaker, who is Ramesh Babu. With a remarkable career spanning over 18 years, Ramesh has been at the forefront of the innovation, transforming ideas into groundbreaking software solutions. And for his early days as a software developer, to his current role as a visionary leader at the Autodesk. Ramesh has worn many hats, including developer, architect, and engineering leader. Today, he leads the charge in the design of and development of the data ingestion team within Autodesk Data Analytics platform. And his expertise is in architecture, design, product delivery is second to none, driving the future data analytics forward. So please join me in welcoming Ramesh Babu, who would be speaking on the AI security, governance, and compliances. So, Ramesh, if I have missed anything about you, please go ahead. Feel free to introduce yourself in brief if you want to. And you may begin with your topic now. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Kagi. I think you kind of summed it up. Thanks for that. Wonderful words. Let me share my screen. I hope you're able to see the screen.
Yeah, it is
Yeah.
visible.
Okay, great. So, yeah, hello all. Good morning, good evening from wherever you folks are joining. And again, thanks, CloudxLab, for inviting me here. And I'm happy to be here to talk around building right data platform and learn, unlearn with all of you as well, right? So data is the new oil. This phrase was coined by British mathematician Clive Humby in 2006, and it's already reality for quite some time now, right? But what about the data platform, right? We have evolved as a data platform as well as we progressed, and this is what I'm going to cover in this topic of building the right data platform. So if you're a new data engineer or a new engineer, this is how probably it'll look like you will feel, what's our platform, the data platform, right? Yeah, I'm just kidding. It may not be like this wherever you guys are going to join, but, or if you're working already. The boundaries as an engineer for all of us has grown as well with the way the data platform itself has kind of grown, right? Just a quick snapshot of Autodesk. Autodesk is the design and make company. We span our technology across architecture, engineering, construction, and product design and manufacturing, and also media and entertainment. Founded in 1982 with employee headcount of around 14,000 employees worldwide, right? With a revenue of almost 5 billion, and our R&D spend is almost 1.2 billion, which is like roughly 25% of it, which emphasizes the R&D focus in the company. And we are already one of the largest providers of 3D designs solutions in the world, and we want our R&D spend to reflect that as well. Agenda, I'm going to cover the data platform, how it has evolved, challenges, what we saw, as well as across the industry, how it has been, and what's our analytics data platform within Autodesk, with the vision and the platform. And specifically, I'll touch upon the self-serve ingestion itself, where I know me and my team is kind of involved into. So this is a kind of a platform evolution, how it has moved across within the data platform. Early days, we just had the data warehouse where we had some structured data across the organization. It might be HR, it might be financial, or your product data, which is all kind of a structured data which you have to capture into a data warehouse. And slowly, the kind of data has also grown, and you have to have the structured, unstructured, semi-structured kind of a data as well coming into picture. So that's where the need for data lake came in, where you can store all of these in a file system or somewhere as well. And as we have grown further, it was looking at like we wanted to have a combination of data warehouse and data lake concepts as well, because you wanted to have ACID functionalities as well available, which was available in the warehouse. So that's how the lake house concept was evolved as well. And lately, in 2009, Zamak Degani, she came up with this term data mesh, and it talks about domain oriented and decentralization of your data as well. That's the latest, if some of you are aware of it. Just to highlight what it's going to be as part of data mesh architecture, right? So there's a website you can go if you're interested, datamesh-architecture.com, which where she has published all of these details as well. But it resides around four different pillars, right? The domain ownership, data as a product, self-serve data infrastructure platform, and federated governance. So when it comes to domain ownership, the principle, it mandates that the domain teams takes the responsibility for their own data, and data should be composed around domains itself. And as a data as a product principle, it projects a product thinking philosophy onto analytical data. It means that there are consumers for your data beyond your domain, and the domain is responsible for satisfying the need of the other domains by providing high quality data. So basically, the domain data should be treated as any other public API where you can expose those APIs and others can access the data. Um, the idea behind the self-serve data infrastructure platform, again, it adopts the platform thinking into your data infrastructure, where a dedicated data platform team provides domain agnostic functionality, tools, and systems to build, execute, and maintain interoperable data products for all your domains. This enables domain teams to seamlessly consume and create those data products, right? And the federated governance, this principle kind of achieves interoperability, for all data products through the standardization. We're going to have the compliance policies, privacy policies, security, all of these, and interoperability policy as well. And this is going to be really important when you are looking at how you are trying to govern the data, which is having the domain ownership, but then you need to comply with all of the different policies as well. Um, if you look at the challenges, what we had within the organization, and of course, there are a lot of other companies are also, facing, right? The challenges, in terms of data in silos. So some of the organizations might have their data sitting in their own domains, and then if the other teams or other organizations across, I mean, business units across the organization want to access that data, you might not have a accessibility so easily. And on the other side, if you have, let's say, you have created the data lake kind of an architecture already, but then how do you make sure that accountability, ownership, and data governance, all of this is coming into picture as well? So those are the major challenges what we had on when it is in data in silos. When it comes to the scalable infrastructure, it's very important that you build scalable platform for varied data volumes on a day-to-day basis. The data can be coming with the frequency, whatever you guys said, whether it is on a hourly basis or a daily basis, or even it could be streaming as well with Kafka kind of a thing, where you can have the streaming of the data as well. So the data volume will keep varying, and your infrastructure should support that kind of a varied data. And the other part is around the data quality. You will typically have a raw and processed data. So whatever the data which is there in the domain, you can just pull it and then push it onto a raw either buckets or warehouse. But then you also need to do that processing and make sure that the data quality in terms of consistency, accuracy, and validations are all in place as well. And the fourth aspect is the partner onboarding and unified data pipeline management. Typically, if you consider pipelines, probably it will be like a batch or a stream ingestion kind of pipelines. And as of now, there are a lot of organizations where they take these kind of requests over a email or a Slack or some other manual mechanism, and then they go and create those pipelines. I mean, go on the script, and then they create a pipelines. And that has been a real challenge, how they have the visibility of these pipelines across the organization, and then how they can view the data. right? And finally, the ease of data access. If you want to have machine learning or deriving some insights from that data, how easily the partners who can access this data. So that is also crucial aspect for building the right data platform. So these are some of the challenges what we faced, and I also feel that similar challenges are all existing in other organizations as well, as we are moving towards the data mesh based architecture. So our ADP vision was that we provide scalable, reliable enterprise data platform for teams across the company, so that they can derive insights from the customer usage data. And our mission was to elevate speed, efficiency, and reliability of deriving value from our customers and usage data by providing scalable data products and a resilient and intuitive data platform. The high level, this is what we have on the Autodesk side, the platform. So we on the left side, you see that there are different products. What we have, it could be our own applications like AutoCAD, Revit, Maya, and then there are a lot of services which have been built to connect all of these, and our own databases as well for each of these products. And all of this can serve the data to our data platform. And apart from that, we have a lot of second-party sources as well, like Salesforce, ServiceNow, Jira, Atlassian products. So there are quite a few, and then there are third-party sources as well, like vendors. So these are some of the different data sources from where we kind of capture the data. And we have to move this data either near real time via, as we're talking of Kafka kind of a streaming, or we can have a batch ingestion and processing, wherein it can derive via certain frequency all of this data into the data lake side. And as part of the foundational data capabilities, we have split into 5 different categories in terms of data processing, which talks about the ingestion, orchestration, and processing. And in terms of data storage, it could be a S3 or database or topics and data mart. And from perception point, it's discovery, exploration, and a catalog, and data standards like data modeling and data products. And from data operation point of view, the data portal, access management, quality, notifications, and cost management. These are the kind of foundational data capabilities what we have. And once we have this data processing and all done, we have the data on the data lake side, then this data can be served into data insight capability, where we can have a AML platform which can then have a feature engineering, model development, model registry, inference, experimentation, all of these capabilities as well added there. And on top of it, it can serve our customer-facing products, supporting applications to derive the insights, experimentation platforms, customer success, all of the other applications what we have, which are customer-facing. And on some of the decision-making applications, once we have the data onto the data lake, which can be then moved on to the derived views like data marts, and then serve our inside dashboards or operational dashboards or some of the other dashboards and analytic platforms as well. The whole data platform currently sitting around as a central data lake. Previously, we had a corporate data lake, what we called, which was not completely governed with all the standards, what we are seeing currently in the data mesh architecture. And that is where we had to bring in the central data lake, which sits on 4 different pillars, from access point, we have the data management and access management. From build point, we have self-serve ingestion, interactive querying, and transform to publish. And from manage point of view, pipeline orchestration, leveraging Airflow, we have DQA, cost management. And from discovery point, data catalog and data lineage. And these are all different capabilities what we have as part of the platform where we are working on. Specifically touching upon the self-serve based ingestion itself. While, as I mentioned, so there are different products from where we pull the data, like AEC, manufacturing, M&E, or any second-party data, which are having a both structured, unstructured, and semi-structured kind of a data, and coming from either databases or an S3 bucket or an API kind of a thing, and which can serve, into Looker or ML platforms or dashboards. But underlying on the data platform side, what you see here is a self-serve portal where our partners are all our Autodesk users. They can go and log into the portal, create the pipeline by themselves, and do the processing request, which in turn creates the actual pipeline, at the data pipeline level, right? And the data pipeline itself will have, ingest, flatten, standardize, GDPR and PII, publish, and other features as part of the pipeline. And then, of course, we leverage, as I mentioned, Airflow for orchestration, Fivetran we have for extract and load, and of course, we have our own transformation capability as well. We have EMR, where we have the Spark, PySpark running, and ECS and Kafka as well. And the underlying data storage is with the Snowflake and S3 Hive at this point of time. So yeah, our main focus is on the data lake side as of now. And from the platform capabilities point, we have A&D, which is access and discovery, metadata management, resource management, data security, data quality, cost management, AMP, and insight kind of capabilities. Any questions at this point of time? Otherwise, I can move on.
It was a very wonderful explanation of this.
Okay, thanks. So this is going a bit in detail on specifically where me and my team is involved into. We have the self-service ingestion, configuration surveys. As I mentioned, we have the self-serve portal where we have our self-serve based the web pages which are available, along with different other capabilities which have their own modules as well in that. Once they start configuring. So this is all the control plane, by the way. So on the top side, what you see here, and so they can go and configure their pipelines, and that will send a request to our batch ingestion service, which is built on Spring Boot. As of now, it's a microservices. So all of our capabilities are, by the way, microservices based architecture, so that we can do a plug and play with their own databases having associated with that. So the pipeline requests come into ingestion service. It can then ingest its request onto the BI database, batch ingestion database, and then it sends the API request to batch processing to do further processing activities, which is mainly into ingest and then processing. The sources, yeah, as I mentioned, it can pull from any of these kind of a thing. For example, you can move the data from a source S3 bucket onto the destination. That's the ingest part of it, and then processing will do rest of the other stuff of flattening, GDPR, PII, all of those validations, all of those as well. And we'll leverage Airflow as an orchestration, and EMR PySpark will be running as well to process that. So this is the data portal, what we currently have, which has, as I mentioned, so this is all built to make sure that we have a right governance in place for our partners who are our Autodesk users themselves. We make sure that people have when they log in, they have their user access. There is a team onboarding where they can come and onboard their team. And underneath the team, there will be a domain where there could be within the particular product, there could be multiple teams as well working, and within those teams, there can be multiple domains as well which can exist. So we can have a team onboarding, and underneath we can have a domains onboarded, and under this is where the resources are getting created. Resources in the sense the destination side, what are you going to have as a Snowflake or as an Hive S3 kind of database and buckets, what we're going to create it. So the domain ownership lies with the domains itself, who come with team onboarding. So they will have a complete access governance. And if someone else need to access that data, they will have visibility of what kind of a data it exists, but then they need to request via this portal to get access to it, so that they have a complete governance as well from domain ownership point of view. And as I mentioned, so from data access point of view, we have both Snowflake and Hive S3 kind of a database and buckets. So all of those will be visible for our partners with respect to their team, and also other for other partners as well. So they can access all of these. They can view that these are the databases we have. These are the Hive database schemas and tables they have it, so that they can go and request if any other partners want to have access to any other database or table access as well to that level. And we are also having the AML platform, which we're building, where they can go and create their project registry and all of those activities as well. Apart from that, yeah, so we are slowly started building on the cost management side of activities, so that we are not overshooting the overall budget what we have currently. So we need to make sure that each of the capabilities what we have are kind of aligned with the costing side of thing as well. And part of the ingestion, we have the ingestion dashboards, and you can go and create a new pipeline building as well. So you can trigger the ingestion activity, and then you can create a particular pipeline under that. So these are at the high level some of these components and capabilities what you see. This is not still the exhaustive one. We are still adding as we are um, trying to build complete data platform with the data mesh architecture, what I'm calling in. Okay, so this is something I'm really curious as well. When I saw some time back, this is a reference from Matt Turk website, where there is this MAD landscape. This is the latest 2024 MAD landscape, which talks about machine learning, artificial intelligence, and data side of logos. So if you see here, there are almost 2000 plus logos in this. And it is, yeah, this may not be exhaustive as well. There, as we are talking, there might be more companies who are working on, in terms of building data platforms, or even anything on the machine learning or AI side of it. But the highlight of this is, yeah, I mean, this is kind of segregated across infrastructure, analytics, machine learning, and AI ML stuff, application enterprise level, application horizontally at industry level, they are also having it. And even the open source infrastructure, data source APIs, and data and AI consulting. So the amount of the logos getting added year on year, it is pretty huge. I think in 2023, if I had looked at it last year, so it was around 1400, and now it has grown till 2000 plus, almost 500 plus new logos added. So yeah, Matt keeps looking at how the companies are getting evolved, and where their focus area is, all of that. So this is something interesting. Take a look at this as well. It will be useful. What are the kind of companies you have, where they are focusing, in terms of this MAD landscape. Yeah, last but not least, as I'm looking at it, so data platform is no more just about data engineering, right? You need to start thinking like building a platform product. So you need to think as a platform, and then how we can then serve our different stakeholders. With all the governance in place is very key to build a data platform. So yeah, it's not just about data engineering going further. So I always keep telling my team as well that people who are working are not just data engineers at this point of time, but they are a full stack software engineers, plus the data engineers, plus the DevOps, plus the testing. So it's like complete hybrid engineers. We are bringing with a new name, something like an hybrid engineer. So they need to be getting involved into all of these things, because as a data platform, we are now trying to solve the complete landscape of problems what exist as a data platform. So yeah, so that's a takeaway. I'm gonna give it to all of you. So I hope there was some kind of insights I was able to share to the audience with this to take back home. Any questions? Yeah, we can take it as well.
Yeah. Yeah, wonderful, Ramesh. I think I was not expecting this detailed explanation of about ADVs, like, right? Because everybody, see, I've been working with CloudxLab since many years, and I see that a lot of people wants to start career in data science, right?
Right.
And when it comes to the other part, which is like data analytics, a lot of
Right.
people are very interested in that, whether they are from the tech background or not from the tech background.
Right.
But and I think this is where the core foundation of analytics lies,
Absolutely.
and we should start with this only, I guess. Like
Right.
as a, let's say, as a beginner, if I'm getting a ADP out of the box and I can explore that, then that is great, right?
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
not much questions, because it was really an explanatory thing, and data and the screenshots you and the graphs you presented, which basically they were self-explanatory as well. But a few things is that, but like while designing a analytics platform, while designing
Hmm.
an ADP, so
Yeah.
what are the key design principles? Like what we should keep in mind, like while designing these kind of things.
Yeah, yeah. I think the olden days of thinking like we will get some request as a pipeline building activity, and then someone will go and script that. Those kind of a mindset should definitely go as we are moving towards. Of course, it depends on scale of that company as well. If it's a smaller company, probably how far you can build your own data platform is also a question, right? In those cases, probably you might have to leverage some of the data platforms already available in the market. But if you're a larger organization, I would think that there are quite a few
Mm.
companies who build their own data platform as well. And when it comes to building a data platform, it need to be really that you have to think of building something as a self-service mechanism. So where you have a portal, in that case, you really need to think again as part of a microservice architecture, because the number of capabilities within the data platform have also grown now. It is no more just one data engineering team kind of a thing. Rather, somebody will be owning the infrastructure part of it, someone will own the ingestion processing part of it, someone will own the portal itself, and some of them might also work on the reporting, catalog and other stuff as well. So we have to think like building a either microservices based architecture, or wherever possible, yeah, you can club them as well. But then holistically, we need to think of building end-to-end solution which covers portal and the backend activities what I called out. And yeah, then we should be able to serve. So separate the control plane and the data plane part of it, where control plane more focuses on building this portal configuration, all of these things, and with data pipeline where actually the actual data movement happens along with ingestion, processing, and rest of the
Mhm.
other activities. So that's how we should start focusing on if you're a larger organization and think for long term goal here.
Right, 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 right. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely correct, I guess. And yeah, one more question I have in mind, that as like I was setting up few ADPs by myself, and like I was just trying my hands on different analytics tools. One
Right.
thing I always wonder about is scalability of uh,
Yeah.
the tools it consumes, right? Like there are a lot of technologies which latest ADPs have, yeah,
Right.
integrations and everything. So how do we manage, like in such a big tool, it is very difficult to find like a balance of compatibility and scalability. That is
Right.
what I usually
Yeah.
find very difficult, is that if I have like few things which are like working from long back, and I
Right.
want to introduce something new in that. So
Right.
how do you ensure, like how should we ensure that scalability part in the ADP?
Yeah, I think I kind of touched upon a little bit on that, where we also had the challenge in terms of as the data grows, and we might have a volume of data coming suddenly. It could be from that perspective. We need to really manage our infrastructure as well, right? So yeah, definitely we need to think of having if you're leveraging some third party tools. Of course, I'm hoping that some of these SaaS products will be able to scale up and down as and when needed. But if you're building your own data platform in those cases, and if you're using a cloud, either AWS or Azure or any of the clouds, so you should be also thinking in terms of how am I supporting all the scalability aspects, so that the system can scale up or down as well. So that could be we probably, in terms of AWS, we are currently leveraging a lot of EKS clusters as well, and that's where most of our products are. I mean, our capabilities are deployed, and yeah, so that's how we should see how you leverage, even if it's a cloud, a Kubernetes clustering or anything is needed, or is it like as just a simple EC2 or a ECS containers will hold good to deploy your product or your application there, and then how it can manage. So yeah, so those are something you need to also think of when we are trying to build. Again, since data is not like, some of the cases where Kafka streaming and all is happening, which is real time or near real time kind of a thing, where you can have kind of assume that there are certain way of data coming in on a periodic basis. But if it is something like batch ingestion, where the data can be sporadic as well. I mean, at particular hour or a particular day, the data might be huge, and in other cases it might be slow as well. So in those cases, if you are trying to ingest those data, how fast it can load that, and how fast you can then process the data will be crucial, and that's where infrastructure scalability will come into picture.
Okay, okay. I think that sums up everything. That sums up everything about the scalability and the other doubts I had in my mind. So, if anyone of you, like from the team, have any questions, like you can proceed with yours. Thank you, Ramesh, for answering my queries. Usually,
Yeah, thanks, Sachin.
I see a few comments there mentioning great insights, Ramesh. Thank you so much. Thanks, Anand, for joining. And others who have might not have posted their question, then they can reach out to Ramesh directly on his LinkedIn profile. Please connect with him. And I appreciate time that Ramesh you have given us and shared the great insights with us. Hopefully you enjoyed the session, and hopefully we will be coming up with another sort of a tech week event where would also we want you to participate in that one also.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad to be there in those as well. Thanks all.
Okay.
Thanks, Sachin.
Thank you, Ramesh. Thank you so much. So all right. So before we end this day 3 of the tech week that we have had, I believe that people, the learners who have joined us now, who was there with us live, have enjoyed the session, and fills me with immense gratitude and pride that this week has turned truly a testament to the power of technology and incredible community that is driving us forward. And with more such speakers, I thank everyone for the speakers first for sharing their insights and expertise with us, and also the CloudxLab team who has put in efforts to bring to you these insightful sessions. And probably you can reach out to us to let you more about us, what we do. We are a gamified learning environment where we are providing the lab, which instantly is installed with all the tools for machine learning and big data. It also has auto assessment engine, which assesses your work. And we also provide well organized, high quality learning content on deep learning, machine learning, big data, computer vision, and data sciences. And we are also collaborated with IIT Roorkee to bring up the PG level programs. So do check out our website, and to let you know who is going to be next speakers for tomorrow, I'll just take a name quickly, and we will also be sharing their details to your email address. So tomorrow on day 4, we will be having Arva Sai Kumar, who is a machine learning engineer at Adobe. We will also be having Divya Rai, who is senior engineering manager at Uber. Along with it, Arpit Golia, CTO, CPO at AlgoWorks, will be joining us for tomorrow. So please be live. And as we are not going to share the presentations that speakers are there, so join them live. There would be a video available. Of course, the recordings will be available on LinkedIn and YouTube. So with that, I would like Gajendra to give any closing remarks if you have, Gajendra.
Thank you for summarizing, Agi. So it was a great session today. We have had discussion on blockchain, data marketing. So we'll keep these great sessions continuing for the final 2 days of the tech week. I would request everybody who's interested in AI tech, just join us. And we are thankful for every participant, all the attendees, all the speakers who are joining us. And
Right, right.
yeah,
I get it. Like for people who are working, it's not easy to sit for 3 long hours, but still thank you, audience, for your patience. And if you have missed out on any part, go through the recordings. We'll also share the details to your email addresses and others. And Sachin, would you like to add something?
No, thank you for organizing this, Gajendra and Gagi, and had a wonderful interaction with the speakers and audience. So thanks for that.
thank you, everyone.
All,
Thank you
all
for
right.
joining
Thank you
in.
so much. We'll see you tomorrow again then. Bye-bye. Good night.
Good
Bye.
night.